When your body never rests, your mind can't either. After years of battling fibromyalgia, I developed anxiety. And I finally learned why fibro affects our mental health so deeply and how to build it back again, even when doctors couldn't. So why does fibromyalgia affect your mental health? Well, when you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia, it's not just the physical pain, it's the emotional toll it takes too. And that leads directly to mental health issues. Months, maybe years of tests and uncertainty, and then you're told it's fibro, but no one can explain why it's happened or how to fix it. Work becomes harder or maybe stops altogether. Benefits paperwork piles up. Everyday life keeps changing and you're still unwell and everything feels difficult. So of course your mental health takes a hit. And often we focus on the physical symptoms more. So stress levels stay high and anxiety creeps in. And over time, you can also slide into depression. It's no surprise really, when your body is always in pain and your nervous system is constantly on the edge, your mind can't find peace either. So let's look at how that stress and overthinking start and how they can quietly turn into anxiety. With fibromyalgia, your nervous system is on high alert, like an alarm that never switches off. You're trying to accept your illness, manage life, and do your best with half the energy you once had. You have to juggle expectations from everyone, employers, the government systems that you have to access, family, friends. So stress builds, and then the overthinking starts. Will I be well enough to go out? How am I going to do this now? Will people stare if I use my walking stick? And how will I cope tomorrow? That constant mental noise, worry and overthinking is anxiety. Anxiety is a high energy state of tension, and that burns through your reserves and leaves you even more exhausted. At times, I'd get headaches from the sheer noise of my own mind. And the anxiety kept fueling my fibro for decades. I had horrendous moments of anger, frustration, emotional pain, and despair. I felt like I'd lost myself and was becoming a person I didn't recognize. Anxiety really destroyed me and prevented me from having joy or peace in my life. But slowly I found that writing helped. I didn't have the energy or will to talk to anyone yet. I'd empty my thoughts onto paper and sometimes I wouldn't even read them back. I just needed to get them out. And when I did read them later, I realized that those thoughts didn't sound like me at all. They sounded like old fears and other people's voices or someone else totally. Then I had some counseling on top of that, and that helped me recognize and understand what anxiety is and how to deal with it. These days, I think of anxiety as someone I used to know that still walks beside me at times, but it's not living in my head. And if it gets too close, I gently push it back. And that simple awareness gives me space again. But sometimes, after years of living in that high alert state, the body simply runs out of steam. And that's when depression can appear. When your system has been running on overdrive for too long, it eventually crashes. Serotonin drops, your stress hormones are spent, and everything slows down. That's why depression so often follows chronic stress and anxiety. A few years ago, I had another major health setback, and I thought to myself, I have to take this time now that I've stopped working again to deal with my mental health and any issues there may still be hanging around. So I went through trauma therapy. When it ended, depression hit hard. At first, I thought something else physical was wrong again, but my therapist said, no, this is the right response to everything you've been carrying and everything you've been through. You have depression. For years, I'd been pushing against illness, against life, and when I finally stopped, all that fight collapsed into exhaustion. Depression for me felt like a heavy numbness. I'd cry for no reason. I'd sit for hours, unable to move. I had no motivation or interest in anything or anyone. It was like my body had pressed pause on life. Then I went to see my doctor and he prescribed a mild antidepressant, and it made a big difference. I stayed on it for over a year, which is the recommended time, and now I'm slowly weaning off it. So if you're struggling, please talk to your doctor or your therapist. There's no shame in getting that support, and it helped me immensely, to the point that I could pick up a YouTube channel again. So what can you actually do day to day to protect your mental health and start edging towards more good days than bad? I'm going to go through some everyday mental health practices that you can follow now. Everything people suggest for well-being becomes essential when you live with fibromyalgia, so most of this won't sound new. But these are the things that work when your mind and body are constantly working overtime. So here are some of the things that truly help, and I've tried them all. Talk it out. Speak to someone, a partner, a good friend, or a counsellor or therapist. Talking helps your body release tension, and hearing yourself say the words out loud gives you distance from them and a bit of energy back. And that's when you can really start challenging unhelpful thoughts. Or you can try writing it down. Journaling gives all those racing thoughts somewhere to go. Later, you'll often see they weren't reality, just worry loops. And if something there that you read is really a concern, that's when you need to seek help. Use your wellness tools. We talked about this in the last video. They're the small things that bring comfort and remind you that you matter. Micro joys like listening to music, getting a hug, sitting quietly with a cup of tea. You can also try stillness, meditation, or simply sitting and breathing for a few minutes can calm an overstimulated nervous system. If that feels difficult, watch my How to Sit and Do Nothing video. It'll help you begin, and I'll link it in the description below. Other powerful practices are gratitude and mindfulness. Morning or bedtime, list 3 things that went right today that you're grateful for. When you're doing your chores, play music to quieten your thoughts and really focus on the task. Watch every movement and be present. This stops your mind wandering to tomorrow's worries. Try picking one of these strategies and try it for the next 2 weeks. I genuinely believe it'll help you feel calmer, clearer, and bring more good moments into your life, so you have more good days than bad. Let me know how you get on in the comments. And once those daily stabilizers are in place, something powerful begins to return. When anxiety takes over, your mind fills with worry and negative thoughts. When depression sets in, you go numb. Underneath both is a loss of hope. When hope disappears, you get stuck. You stop believing things can improve. But hope doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It means believing the future can still hold something good for you. If you say, I'll never get better, you shut that door. If you say, I can still build a life worth living, then you open it again. Hope gives us energy, confidence, and direction. In my workshop, some of the ways that people found it were through an inspirational quote, a phrase to repeat to themselves like, this too shall pass, maybe a prayer, or making simple plans for a day out, shopping or seeing a friend. Because planning is actually a hopeful act. It tells your brain that the future still matters. Your wellness tools are an act of hope too. Each one says, I'm still worth caring for. I still deserve joy. I will always remember one woman from my wellbeing program said, I used to let a bad morning turn into a bad week, but after this program, I now know it can just be a bad hour and I can do something about it. I found that so inspiring. And that's the heart of this message too. No matter how you feel, there's always something small you can do to keep hope alive. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this, that your mental health matters just as much as your physical health. You can calm your mind with small daily tools, rebuild emotional balance with tiny forward plans, and find meaning even on the hardest days. And this will all help improve your symptoms too, because it lowers that stress level. I'd love to hear from you. How has fibromyalgia affected your mental health? And what helps you keep hope alive? So until next time, take care of yourself and be well.